Let's bring Alex back, because surely, Alex, we should be able to sit and relax knowing that our security services are protecting us from any form of attack on the country and the Constitution, particularly in a communist or a Marxist form.
You might think so, Brian, but the CIA and the British Foreign Intelligence Service, SIS, popularly known as MI6, in the form of their two directors, have different thoughts. This is not behind the Financial Times' usual hard paywall. I think it's because it's meant to be read by people outside the usual ambit. Sir Richard Moore and Bill Burns are headlined here by the FT as saying that Britain and America stay ahead in an uncertain world through the intelligence partnership. It's scant on detail. It does talk about generative AI being in use at the agencies. It notably in this final paragraph, describes the world order as the international world order, not the rules-based. That would be too close to power, but there you go. It also seeks to rewrite history because although it grudgingly admits that the CIA wasn't founded until a couple of years after the Second World War, whereas SIS was founded by Admiral Cummings back in 1909, they do say we were joined at the hip throughout both World Wars and the Cold War. Well, I haven't got a slide for it, but what gives the lie to that is a book by Thomas Mahl, a thorough academic, called Desperate Deception, outlining how British intelligence in New York, before even the CIA's predecessor, the OSS, was up and running by the time of the Second World War, was all about trying to get Nazi narratives, oppose the Germans into the USA, so suborning American national interest to British. The other thing that's not mentioned, again brought out best by Joseph Farrell, and other conspiracy researchers, shall we say, is that after the Second World War, the Nazi survival element really triumphed in large parts of the CIA, and that's been well documented that there was a pro-German angle to the CIA after the Second World War. So convenient rewriting of history. But this leads us to a nuclear arms race situation. And apologies to those in audio only, you'll hear about 40 seconds of Russian here. But this, subtitled by a man you've just mentioned, Brian, Anton Gerashchenko, the Ukrainian patriot, but accurately subtitled from the Russian to English, is a discussion on Russian primetime TV by the usual big talking heads in Russia on why Russia, in their view, needs to move from nuclear deterrent towards a nuclear intimidation strategy.
Нам нужно уходить от термина «ядерное сдерживание» в ядерное устрашение. Ведь фактически, что такое ядерное оружие у нас? Это создание реальной угрозы для противника, что ответ на удар будет для него неприемлемым или вообще катастрофическим. И как только мы у себя меняем вот эту конструкцию, что мы переходим на ядерное устрашение, мы сразу понимаем, что можно уже делать определенные действия. И сейчас первое уже происходит. Замминистра иностранных дел уже говорит о том, что работает комиссия по внесению изменений в ядерную доктрину.
Что у нас нет работающего ядерного оружия. Они же себя убеждают в том, что у нас всего этого нет, что это все сказки. Они же ведут себя как идиоты, вы же правильно сказали. Поэтому придется жахнуть, но сразу придется жахнуть не только их, а сразу вот всю эту кудахтущую вокруг сволочь нацистскую, которая сейчас притворяется государствами.
What was being referred to in that talk show on Вечер was this, carried by TASS, the Russian state news agency, which is, as formulated by the Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, there is going to be a review of Russia's nuclear doctrine. I've mentioned before, Joel Skousen maintains that this has already happened secretly in the USA, but he says that in the case of the USA, it's moving to a treasonous position of absorber first strike. Russia is often said for short to have a no first use nuclear policy. Ryabkov is hinting that this may move to a more assertive, if not aggressive, use of nuclear arms policy. The Financial Times, again, this one is behind a paywall, but we've got an archived version of it on the show notes for you. Just a gobsmacking headline by the Council on Foreign Relations and Rand Corporation schooled lady Rose Gottemuller. Just look at that headline. A ramp up in nuclear weapons is not always a bad thing. And this from the lady who personally decommissioned the nuclear arsenal of the non-Russian republics of the former USSR in the mid-1990s. So rules for me and rules for thee there. What about the United Kingdom? Well, Declassified UK has the veteran intelligence affairs journalist Richard Norton Taylor, who often wrote for The Guardian in the past, reporting in an exclusive that the mutual assistance protocol, which was agreed by Eisenhower's White House and Macmillan's number 10 Downing Street in the late 1950s, has now quietly been rolled over to permanence. So although it's a legal document in the USA, it's only a policy of no legal standing in Britain. But this is now, there's no need to review it every 10 years. It's in perpetuity. So Britain will never have an independent nuclear deterrent. It will always be Trident or successor with American codes. And as Joel Skousen would argue, that both of these, the American and the British nuclear submarines, can have their codes overridden by a treasonous White House in his argument. NATO is meanwhile wanting to play with your mind. So we have behavioral psychology at NATO level now. They call it the cognitive warfare concept, and it's empowering NATO to strengthen collective defense. If you freeze that screen, you'll see some of the mind games they wish to play. How is this playing out in the conventional forces? Well, the US Navy Times has got this report, now that a hearing's been done, not a court-martial, but something almost in that league, against a chief petty officer of a US vessel, because they wanted to get themselves Starlink on board to be able to follow football games while at sea. So the command senior chief, Crisol Marrero, was hauled over the coals for this, ordered a Starlink dish, had it mounted to the exterior of the vessel, hidden under a radome by the look of it, and it sat there until people who weren't in the know, below the rank of CPO, noticed there was an unauthorized Wi-Fi on board, and then the lies started. If you freeze the screen, you will see just how riled the US Navy's investigation panel are about the corrupt dealings here with senior officers, turning a blind eye to this, as not even boys will be boys these more because it was a female CPO, but oh yes, the chief petty officers will have their fun. What's the relevance of this? Well, this is a good way to sink your vessel in wartime, of course. Having an unauthorized satellite dish is a great way for the Russians or Chinese to track where you are. So, is the threat taken seriously? I don't know. Finally, in this segment from me, Lockheed Martin, what's their response to us moving closer to worldwide nuclear war? And yes, I do know people doubt whether nuclear weapons exist, so please don't write to me on that score. I know what the arguments are. But just look at this. Lockheed Martin is developing a system, according to Reclaim the Net, to identify and counter online disinformation, prototyped by DARPA. So the weapons and the military-industrial complex now regard counter online disinformation as one of the profitable tools they can sell to government.
Alex, thank you very much. As I say, the picture is becoming ever more clear, and this is about oppressive control every element of our life.